Alright, it's time to talk about flams. This next chapter of the DVD is going to cover all the flam rudiments in the book. So every section or every lesson in the book with flams, it's going to be covered right here. We're going to go to several different countries with our backing tracks. We're going to go to the Far East, we're going to go to Trinidad where the steel pan is from. We're going to go to Brazil and play some bossa nova. And then we're coming back to the US of A, play some rock and roll and jazz. Alright, so let's get started with the flam. A flam is two separate notes, a grace note and a primary note, played very closely together. The grace note is very soft, followed by the primary note, which is louder. So the grace note, you just want to drop the stick on the pad. Primary note follows it. A good thing to be practicing on one hand, then with the left hand. The spacing of the grace note and the primary note should be fairly close. And depending on what you're playing, it's going to differ a little bit. We're going to go right on to exercise 1 in lesson 8, which has something we call fake flams. And I'm going to demystify the fake flam. To some people, they might think this is difficult. All we're going to do is play a flam and not play the primary. Just fake it. So we're going to focus on the grace note. Those are fake flams. So let me play exercise number 1, which is 1, 2, 3. The next rudiment is a flam accent, which is basically a triplet starting with a flam. These are flam accents. Alright, now I'm going to play exercise number 4 in lesson 8 at tempo 3. Next couple rudiments we're going to cover are the flam tap and the flam mill. That's in lesson 13 of the book. Now I call these rudiments bounce rudiments because you're going to bounce the stick a lot to execute these rudiments. I'm going to demonstrate exercise number 2 in lesson 13, and this breaks down the flam tap one hand at a time. It goes like this. The flam mill is very similar to the flam tap. It's basically a flam tap with 2 extra notes. All right, and now I'm going to play the Etude in lesson 13, which combines the flam tap and flam mill in various ways. This is at tempo 3. All right, next we're going to talk about the Flamacue. That is in lesson 16. And the Flamacue is the only American rudiment, the only rudiment of our 40 rudiments that was created right here in the United States. And it's the funky rudiment. It's the one rudiment with the accent that's not on the downbeat. You know, we were talking about the molar stroke earlier, or what I call the common sense stroke. We're going to really utilize that in this rudiment. A Flamacue starts with a soft flam followed by an accent. So if I start with the right hand, my left hand is playing a grace note followed by an accent. So I'm going to utilize the molar stroke like this. All right? If I switch hands, start with the left hand, I'm going to utilize the molar stroke in my right hand. All right? As we get faster, that's going to allow me to play much faster. And make it nice and smooth at the same time. All right, with all your rudiments, it's a great idea to break them down one hand at a time and concentrate on the technique. In exercise 2 of lesson 16, this is what we do. Let me demonstrate exercise 2 of lesson 16. All right, I'm going to play the Etude in lesson 16 at tempo 4. But remember, start with tempo 1. I've been playing it a little while, so I'm going to jump ahead to tempo 4 and show you how it's done there. All right, you guys ready? It is time to rock and roll. All right, it's time to talk about the Flammed paradiddle. And I believe the Flammed paradiddle is perhaps the most difficult of the rudiments. And I'll tell you why. On the Flammed paradiddle, we have 4 consecutive notes underneath. And when we're playing this fast, it's fairly difficult to do. But a Flammed paradiddle is the same as a paradiddle, but with a flam on the beginning. So we could call this a hybrid rudiment. It's combining a flam and a single paradiddle. It goes like this. Exercise 1 in lesson 19 breaks down the Flammed paradiddle. In the first measure we play the flam and then the diddle. In the second measure we add the second note. That second note is a molar stroke or upstroke. And it's very important to do this and to get a nice flow. So watch my sticks, how they flow when I play the rudiment. So that when we do play it faster, we're able to do so. It goes like this. Exercise 4 in lesson 19 is also a great exercise to break down the rudiment. It includes those fake flams we were working on before. So I'm going to play one measure of flammed paradiddles and then one measure of flammed paradiddles with fake flams. This way all you're going to hear are the taps underneath. If those aren't even, you have a problem. So work on the fake flams and getting the taps even. It goes like this. All right, I'm going to play the Etude in lesson 19. Now this is a fairly difficult Etude, and I'm going to play it at tempo 4. But remember, the answer to something, if you can't play it, is to either slow it down, break it down, or both. All right? It's the same thing as eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So do this, one step at a time. You can do it. All right, now I'm going to talk about Swiss Army triplets. This is lesson 22 in the book, and the backing tracks to this whole section are jazz. And when I think of Swiss Army triplets and jazz, I think of the great Tony Williams. He used to play Swiss Army triplets a lot on the kit, and jazz is a great American music. So Dr. Throwdown thinks that you should go out and get as many jazz CDs as you can right now. All right, and now I'm going to break down the Swiss Army triplet with exercise number 1 in lesson 22. We're going to do one hand at a time and then put the whole Swiss Army triplet together. It goes like this. All right, I'm going to play exercise number 5 in lesson 22. And the Swiss triplets are going from a triple feel to a duple feel. And then they also switch hands, so it's very important to work right hand Swiss triplets as well as left. And this is a great exercise for that. So this is exercise number 5 at tempo 3. Next, we're going to talk about the Pataflafla. This is in lesson 23. And the Pataflafla, like many of the other rudiments, gets its name by the way it sounds. It's 2 taps and 2 flams. And it goes like this. Pataflafla, 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 pataflafla. All right, it's very common to start the Pataflafla with the second flam. So it's like fla, pada, fla, fla, pada, fla, fla, pada, fla, fla. All right, I'm going to break down the Pataflafla with exercise 2. The first measure is what the right hand plays, and the third measure is what the left hand plays. The second and fourth measure, combine the two, and you have the Pataflafla. And we'll repeat the whole thing. We're going to switch hands. So we'll be able to play the Pataflafla starting with the right or the left. Very important. Now what you want to do is take the rudiment and use it in different ways. Rhythmically change it. You can change the stickings. And that's what we're going to do in exercise number 3 of this section. Change the sticking up a little bit, and you're now playing, maybe you won't call it Pataflafla, something a little different, but it's the Pataflafla sound. All right, it's time to talk about inverted flam taps and flam paradiddle-diddles. This is section 24 of the book, and I would consider these advanced rudiments. But in order to play these rudiments, it's really crucial that you revisit the upstroke. This stroke is very important to play these rudiments fast or even slow to play them well. Now, in order to play an upstroke, you need to use a little bit of arm. So it's okay to use a little arm, but the stroke really is mostly wrist. Once again, I'm going to break down the rudiment with exercise 2 one hand at a time so you can see what's going on. And then we put the rudiment together. So here is exercise 2. Now if you notice the upstroke in those first couple measures, work on those 2 measures and get this motion down. That's what's important. In order to play this rudiment fast, you can see the upstroke. Now it's very small. The faster you get, the smaller the motion, but it's necessary. All right, now I'm going to break down the Flammed Paradiddle-diddle. Take a look at exercise number 3. All right, notice the very quick whipping motion. That's the upstroke. That is the molar stroke. Work on that technique and you'll get it. All right, I'm going to play the Etude in lesson 24 at tempo 5. Now this is a difficult Etude to play slowly. So make sure you work on these things slow and you break them down. And eventually you'll work your way up to tempo 5.